So, a very good evening to you all. Welcome to Job Grade IAS. And this is session 13 of Mains Enrichment Program. So, a few days are remaining for your mains examination. Again, there is a reminder to solve a lot of PYQs and solve them repeatedly. Solve them repeatedly. You will find newer things. You will find newer things. Right? So, without wasting any time, without wasting even a single second, let us discuss the today's question. Let us discuss the today's question, and the question of the day is
तो बस दिक्कत बैटरी का आ रहा था और कोई इशू नहीं आ रहा था कि जैसे शूट होता है ना फिर उसको चार्ज करना है.
I think there is some problem. Live session.
तो वो तो वीकली जाती है.
Well, sorry, due to some technical glitch, I had to put the session on standby. So we were discussing the mains answer writing question, specifically the previous year one, right? So the question of the day is, without wasting any time, let us directly discuss the question. So now the question is, clarify how mid 18th century India was beset with the specter of fragmented polity. So this question was asked in UPSC Civil Services Mains Examination 2017, and it's a 10 marker question. So we will discuss accordingly. I am here to providing you the content so that you can do some value addition in this question. So now they are discussing about the mid 18th century. They are discussing about the mid 18th century. Mid 18th century. And you know very well, the timeline of mid 18th century is marked by the decline of the great Mughals. The colossal Mughal empire was declining, and there were certain reasons behind this. First of all, the strongest Mughal ruler, who was the last Mughal ruler, the last strongest Mughal ruler, Aurangzeb, he chased his son, Akbar, Shahzada Akbar, who revolted against him and shifted his capital to Aurangabad. The shifting of capital to Aurangabad was not the sole reason. There were many reasons behind this. First of all, Aurangzeb wanted to control the Deccan, the rise of Marathas. He especially was disturbed with the advent of Shivaji Maharaj, as well as he was, much more disturbed by his son, Shambhaji, which is popularly known as Shambhaji Raje. Right? So, this was the first reason why he lost control, or his grip was not that much strong on the northern part. He was not able to focus on Delhi. The Delhi was handed over to the second in command, and the top commanders were deployed in the Deccan. So now Delhi became vulnerable to the foreign invader. However, till the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire was not at the verge of fragmentation. But due to some internal reasons, after the rise of regional powers, the erstwhile India witnessed a lot of fragmentations. A lot of fragmentations. Let me clear you one thing. Aurangzeb was not only disturbed by the Marathas in Deccan, but also he was disturbed by the Sikh under the command of Guru Gobind Singh in the northern area. He was much more disturbed by the Lasit Barfukun in the northeast. So Mughals were completely bounded. They were facing a three-phased war. A three-phased war. First was against Marathas, second was against Sikh, and third was against Ahoms. Third one was against Ahoms. Now, after the death of Aurangzeb, what happens? What happens after the death of Aurangzeb? 1707. Sorry. 1707. Death of Aurangzeb. Death of Aurangzeb. So now what happens in the Mughal Empire? The war of succession between Bahadur Shah Jafar and his brother. And somehow the 65-year-old Bahadur Shah Jafar came to the throne. He released Shahuji so that he can create chaos in the Maratha Empire for succession. And then he was quite disturbed with this continuous Sikh raid on the Mughal Empire under the command of Banda Bahadur. And Banda Bahadur not only disturbed
अभी इसको पैराग्राफ में करना
Bahadur
पड़ेगा
Shah, but also his successors were also disturbed by Banda Bahadur
मैं
till
पढ़
his
पढ़ के
capturing
अभी
and till his
7 तक कर रही है
execution
ना तब तक
by Mughal Emperor Farrukh Sir.
हाँ
Now, after the death of Aurangzeb, regional states came to be. So, first of all, the Mughal Empire, the decline of the Mughal Empire and the chaos in the country, the political fragmentation after in the mid of the 18th century was the result of Aurangzeb's policy.
right word
And the mandate of his policy was very, very communal. He wanted to establish the hardcore Islamic rule all over India. And he started doing religious persecutions, which was evident in the Sikh Empire, Guru Tegh Bahadur, right? So, this gave rise to the powers like Marathas, powers like Sikh. And second thing, Aurangzeb did not believe on his loyal Rajput friends, which remained loyal since generations. Raja Bharmal, Raja Man Singh, during Akbar's tenure, many of the Rajput kings, such as Savai Raja Uday Singh of Marwad, during Jahangir's tenure, Raja Karn Singh, during Shah Jahan's tenure, but Aurangzeb did not believe on his Rajput friends. Even he maintained distance from Birja Raja Jai Singh of Jaipur and sent him to Bijapur, right? So this, turned out to be the rise of regional powers. Rise of regional powers. Rise of regional powers. And what are those regional powers? Marathas in Deccan, Rajputs in Rajputana, Sikhs, Punjab, in Punjab, Jats in Bharatpur, and many more, such as the king of Bundela, the king of Chhatrasal, the Raja Chhatrasal, right? So these were the regional powers, and especially after the death of Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, his successors became very weak because of the internal conflicts to gain power. To gain power, all the revenues of Mughal Empire came under the conflict of bribery, corruption. Even there are certain examples that Muhammad Shah Rangila, which is popularly known as Rangila, used to ask his dividend out of bribe taken by the Mughal officers. Right? Now, this created a lot of, financial crunches in the Mughal Empire. And that impacted on their agriculture, especially over their military. Mughals maintained a large military and expeditionary force, and slowly, this force became obsolete. And this could be evident in 1739. 1739, the invasion of Nadir Shah, Nadir Shah of Iran, of Iran. The Nadir Shah of Iran invaded India in 1739, and he had a much capable army with, with compared to the Mughals. The Mughal army, especially their artillery, which was the backbone of their army since 1526, they won the wars because of their artillery when Babur arrived in India. So their artillery became completely obsolete, and Nadir Shah comprehensively defeated the Mughal army as well as the army of Nawabs of Hyderabad and Awadh, and he plundered and massacred Delhi like anything. Not even a single penny from any home was missed by Nadir Shah. Even the royal throne, which is known as Takht-e-Tauz, which was ornamented by the Kohinoor, was captured by Nadir Shah. Later on, Ahmad Shah Abdali invaded India, and he raided India from 1748 to 1766. Right? So, India became a hot place of invasion. Remember one thing always, whenever there is a fragmentation of a strong central authority, especially in context with Indian history, be it ancient history, medieval history, and modern history, or early modern history, foreign invasion happens. The fragmentation of great Mauryan Empire, Greek invasions, the fragmentation of Sultanese Empire, Mughal invasion, the fragmentation of Mughal Empire, invasion of Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali. So there were a lot of chaos that were happening in the country. Nawabs were fighting for their suzerainty. Ali Vardi Khan, on the other hand, established his own kingdom in Bengal. And now his successor, Siraj-ud-Dawla, came in conflict with the British. And British had a very strong naval support. At that time, not even a single ruler of India think about to establish a strong navy to resist the British. Right? So these are the outlines. These are the outlines that you need to be very clear with yourself to write this answer. Because the question, read the question very carefully. Clarify how mid 18th century India was beset with the spectre of fragmented polity. Fragmented polity. It started with the death of Aurangzeb. Even before the policies of Aurangzeb. Then after his weak successors. Then let me clear you by a flowchart. Poor policies of Aurangzeb. Poor policies of Aurangzeb, right? Such as religious persecutions, persecution, religious persecution. Next is death of Aurangzeb, death of Aurangzeb, 1707, which gave rise to two things. Number one is rise of regional powers. Rise of regional powers. You can give the examples like Marathas, they captured a very significant portion of the Deccan, the Sikh in Punjab, the Jats, the Nawabs of Awadh and Hyderabad, as well as later on the Nawabs of Bengal under the leadership of Ali Vardi Khan. And internal conflicts of Mughal Empire. Such as the problems with Jahandar Shah, problems with Bahadur Shah, problems with Farooq Siyar. They all were disturbed by Banda Bahadur, as well as rampant corruption was going on in the Mughal court, and the rise of the Sayyid brothers, who are popularly known as the kingmakers. They created a lot of political chaos, right? So now these internal conflicts of Mughal Empire led to financial crunch, right? The decentralization, and after this decentralization, who invaded? Invasions by Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali. Right. After these invasions, the regional powers conflicted with each other for this regional supremacy. And then after the advent of British and the Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar, they ended completely the suzerainty of Nawabs of Bengal. Right now, companies started intervening in the internal affairs of the country, the internal affairs of the princely states. That later on led to the formation of the policies such as subsidiary alliance, and doctrine of lapse. But these two policies we won't discuss here because the question is focused on the mid 18th century. So, what will you write in introduction? These outlines are enough. The mid 18th century, India witnessed significant political fragmentation and instability due to the decline of Mughal rules because of the policies of Aurangzeb. After the death of Aurangzeb, his policies were very, very poor. He pursued a policy of religious persecution, especially, that gave a rise to communalism in this country. The rise of Sikhism, the rise of Marathas. Even the Rajput chiefs were not happy with these kind of policies. The lack of strong centralized authority weakened the political structure, and anarchy and chaos became prominent. It eventually led to the rise of English East India Company as a colonial power. So, introduction, you see, this is a very, very powerful introduction. This is how you give an introduction whenever you're writing your mains answer. Why? Because this introduction is narrating the story from 1707 to 1757, right? The colonial power. As a colonial power, East India Company became a colonial power after the victory of Battle of Buxar in 1764, right? Now, what will write in body? The Indian subcontinent drifted towards political fragmentation due to a combination of numerous factors. These factors also underlie the weakening of the central authority and rising ambitions of various regional and foreign elements, as I explained to you earlier. There were a lot of internal conflicts in the Mughal court as well as among the regional powers for the supremacy, and that gave rise to the foreign invasions. As I given you the concept regarding the Indian history, be it ancient, medieval, or early modern history, whenever there is a weak central authority or fragmentation of a central authority, then foreign invasion happens. That's a rule. That's why I always say, instead of remembering or recalling the history, you have to work on it. You have to work on this subject. Otherwise, history, gives nightmares, especially in the UPSC, especially in mains examination, right? So you need to understand the concept. Now, Aurangzeb's orthodox policies, such as the religious persecutions, Darul Islam instead of Darul Harsh, and the rise of Sikh and Marathas accentuated religious tensions. You know the concept what Guru Gobind Singh gave? Panch Pyare. Kesh, Kacha, Kripan, Kangha, Kada, right? And he converted Sikh, which was a religious community, into a martial community. And his message was very, very clear that after my death, after my demise, nobody will be considered as a guru, but only the Guru Nanak Sahib.
कर दी एडिट कर दी
And people started
free हो
following
जाए फिर
Banda
मैं
Bahadur,
खत्म
who became the
करूंगी।
successor of Guru Gobind Singh. And he was a great military
मुझे नहीं
leader
लगता
that
free
time.
हो।
So now the only war was of not only of the
White और
political
black है ना?
conditions,
ये
but
मैं-
also
हाँ।
against the religious
क्योंकि
persecution.
व्हाइट और ब्लैक ना टू कॉमन
Now,
है।
the increasing friction further destabilized the political
तो
scenario
कैसे भी
as
हो
well as
सकता है।
Marathas conquered territories in Deccan and North India, draining the Mughal resources. Why this point I have mentioned? Because after the death of Aurangzeb, Bahadur Shah, Jahandar Shah, Farooq Sir became the weak successors, and there were rampant corruption in the Mughal court. Then, after during the reign of Muhammad Shah Rangila, Peshwa Bajirao invaded in Delhi.
कहाँ बैठी
He
हूँ? बैठने
defeated the
देता ही नहीं है ना
Nizam of
मुझे कोई।
Hyderabad in the Battle of Shakarkheda in
नहीं बैठ जाओ ना, इधर
1748 and
इधर ही।
raided Delhi. And the flag of Marathas hosted at Delhi.
मेरी
This
तो
was a
फट गई, पता है, मुझे
comprehensive
लगा
and
कि मैं कहीं बैठ के
a kind of comprehensive defeat of Mughal Empire, as well as it was a matter of shame for the Mughal Empire, because they were
Hello.
they were maintaining a large army and they were very easily defeated by Peshwa. By the way, Peshwa Bajirao. Bajirao first was a great military general. He won not because that Mughals were weak. He won because of his military skills, right? And there was no one in the Mughal Empire who could match his skills, right? The use of cavalry, the use of infantry, right? He was a full complete general. By the way, they captured the Deccan, right? They captured the Deccan and North India, training the Mughal resources. Now, the decline of Mughal Empire, the Mughal court witnessed weak successors and internal power struggles, which ultimately led to a steady erosion of the empire's weak situation of law and order and lack of governance created a power vacuum in various regions. During the reign of Muhammad Shah Rangila, people used to comment in a sarcastic manner that Badshah ki Sultanat Delhi se Palan tak फैली हुई है. And this was a kind of humiliation Muhammad Shah Rangila was facing, and he had nothing to do but to ask for his dividend from the bribery which was taken by his officers, And due to these reasons, due to such kind of power vacuums, a lot of foreign invasions happened. India was completely plundered and Delhi was massacred. Rise of regional powers was a natural development towards filling the power vacuum. As I mentioned you, the concept of decentralization and the foreign invasion created by disintegration of Mughal Empire. These powers included the Marathas, Sikh, Rajputs, Nawabs of Awadh and Bengal, and Nizam of Hyderabad. The political landscape of India was further fragmented by the frequent competition between these regional entities for control over resources and territory. What I explained you earlier, that these regional powers started struggling for their supremacy, for the resources, right? And they were backed by different kind of philosophies. Banda Bahadur claimed himself as a Sacha Pasha. Marathas gave the philosophy of Swaraj. Jats were the peasantry class people. They fought for the right of peasants who were humiliated by the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb. Rajputs fought for their honor to save their lands of Mewar and Marwar. Right? So it was a complete fragmentation. And this gave rise to the advent of British in our country. There is an old story that they came as traders. But during the mid of 17th century, they were capable enough to understand that India is in a lot of chaos, and this is the best opportunity to use their chaos for our commercial benefits. Right? They fought with Nawab of Bengal, they defeated him, they killed him. Then after, they comprehensively defeated the trio in 1764 in the Battle of Buxar. Right? And it was the complete victory of East India Company over Bengal. Right? Due to lack of internal strength, and Mughals failed to fight effectively against the external challenges that came in form of several invasions from northwest, that of Nadir Shah in 1739 and Ahmad Shah Abdali in 1748 to 1767, crushed the Mughal Empire to an extent that they were no longer the dominant power in the country. What I told you in a sarcastic manner about Muhammad Shah Rangila, that his kingdom was extended from Delhi to Palam. So now there was a continuous struggle among the Mughals, Marathas and Afghans, which eventually led to the Third Battle of Panipat and further fragmentation. After the death of the Mughal Emperor, Ahmad Shah Abdali invaded India, and there was a matter of ego between Ahmad Shah Abdali and the Marathas. Marathas was, pursuing an expansionist policy. They wanted to control the area till Attock, which is presently located in Pakistan. On the other hand, Afghans were trying to capture Delhi, and both forces met in Panipat. They followed a series of negotiations, while Abdali said that do not come to Attock, and the Maratha general Sadashiv Rao Bhau said to Abdali that we will capture Attock, and both the forces met in both these forces met in the ground of Panipat, which led to the Third Battle of Panipat, which was the one of the greatest military debacle of Indian history, because Maratha forces were not acclimatized, because this the war occurred on the day of 14th of January 1761. The forces were not acclimatized to the heavy winter of Punjab and Haryana. Their horses were sick. Even their ration was completely exhausted. So these forces forced themselves to fight till their last breath. Now they lost the battle, but Ahmad Shah Abdali was very much impressed with the bravery of Maratha soldiers. But after all, this was the greatest military debacle of the subcontinent. Abdali returned to his land, which is Afghanistan, and then Marathas could not came over to North India. Yet they they remained as a dominant power for next 10 years after the intervention of the British, the war of succession, and then Maratha Empire was completely break down by the British policies, which is a part of modern India. I do not want to go into so much details because history is a subject that has the maximum depth, when it comes to the UPSC. So now among the Mughals, Marathas and Afghans, which eventually led to the Third Battle of Panipat, further fragmentation. So this was the valid points for the bodies. The country fell into an anarchy and chaos with frequent peasant uprisings, war of successions, and invasions of foreign and neighboring rulers. It resulted into large-scale death and loss of property and poverty due to high taxes, inflation, trade restrictions, mass rapes, and murders by the invading forces. Right? Yes, sir. Bajirao policy of attack to Katak. Yes, attack to Katak. It was policy and mandate of Peshwa Bajirao first, but this could not be pursued because of the poor policies of the Maratha generals Sadashiv Rao and Vishwas Rao. They were not acclimatized to fight in winters. Sir, I want your guidance how to improve vocabulary. I am using easy English words in my questions, sir. Should I join English speaking? Well, For vocabulary, there is no need to join an English speaking institute because they will teach you how to speak in English and they will start with the easier words. It's better to pursue the newspaper, to follow the newspaper such as The Hindu, The Indian Express. In my personal opinion, follow The Indian Express, right? Then you follow The Hindu. Your vocabulary will be improved definitely. Okay, the name is Ghana Fusion. Please come with a real name. So, in the mid 18th century, also witnessed the rise of European powers, especially the British East India Company. This also led to ineffective alliances formed by regional powers. One more concept, which is very important. Whenever there is a struggle, there is a conflict between regionalism and nationalism. Bhuvnesh Sharma. Okay. So, whenever there is a struggle between regionalism and nationalism wins. British authority under the East India Company was fighting for the single land to capture the entire Bengal. For them, Bengal was a nation. And the trio forces in the Battle of Buxar in 1764, who fought against to throw the British out of Bengal, fighting with a mandate that after the war, Shuja-ud-Dawla will rule on Awadh securely, Shah Alam II will rule over Delhi securely, and Mir Qasim will rule on Delhi or on Bengal. So they were fighting for their regional interests. But British forces, which were better equipped, better trained, better well disciplined, were fighting for a single goal, that by hook or by crook we have to capture Bengal, right? By regional powers and European companies, which were often short-lived, the fluidity in the political landscape further increased the fragmentation and instability of the Indian subcontinent. After the defeat of Battle of Buxar, this was a big blow in the Indian political scenario at that time, because British literally, especially the East India Company, yes sir, modern technology and our outdated technology, is outdated technology. Not in the present context, Bhuvnesh, because our technology is quite capable enough right now when it comes to the military that no one can take any kind of panga with us, right? So, especially the British became the expansionist power, and they made a lot of policies that harmed India politically, economically, and in various aspects, right? So now in conclusion, what you will write: the above sequence of historical events and developments clearly indicate that Indian subcontinent in the middle of the 18th century was marked by political fragmentation, because you have given the valid reasons at that time context. Okay, you have given them the valid reasons with the valid examples, right? This has not only encouraged political instability but also paved the way for external forces to exploit the situation to their advantage. It tore apart the fabric of Mughal Empire. The Mughal Empire was completely down and out from the picture. That was because of the poor policies of Aurangzeb, right? By the way, this is history. The role of history is to teach you not to repeat it, not to make mistakes, otherwise history repeats itself. Okay, so this was the session for the day. I hope you learned a lot of things from this session, this particular session. This question was very good, right? And this question was taken from the point of your syllabus, the events of early 18th century, right? And the question was asked from the mid 18th century, right? Clear? So I'll see you again tomorrow with one more question. We will discuss this thoroughly, be it a 10 marker on a 20 marker, 150 word or 250 word. Till then, revise this stuff and have a nice day. Thank you.